That is the opening sting from a film which is called Close Encounters of a Third Kind, which I had the privilege of seeing this afternoon with members of our staff over in Hollywood on a very rainy afternoon. And the music may not sound spectacular on the home television set, but when you hear it in the Dolby sound system and 70mm projection in a theater, it is absolutely spellbinding and stunning. We have with us tonight the director and the writer of this motion picture. I'd forgotten that Steven Spielberg not only directed the picture, but he wrote the screenplay. Very happy to have him here. And in just a couple of seconds, we'll show you a montage of scenes from Close Encounters of a Third Kind. And I want to say a little bit about the picture when Mr. Spielberg comes out. Here are some scenes from Close Encounters of a Third Kind, a montage of scenes, and we'll be right back after you take a look at this. It'll give you some idea of how the picture looks. Don't judge it by the way it appears on TV.
Contact 134.4. 344, what's this? Aries 31 has traffic 2 o'clock, slightly above and descending.
Aries 31, can you say aircraft type?
Negative, Center. No distinct outline. To tell you the truth, the target is rather brilliant. That's the brightest any collision lights I think I've ever seen. Alternating white to red. Colors are a little striking. Wait a second. Stand by one. Okay, Center. Aries 31, the traffic is turned. He's heading right for my windshield. We're turning right immediately and leaving flight level 350 now.
Aries 31, descend and maintain flight level 310. Break, Allegheny 444, turn right 30 degrees.
Get on the order of the 45th recon wing. See what the hell they could be testing up there.
The traffic is approaching head on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
Do you want to report officially? EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over.
Now here's how it ends. No, I can't do that because that wouldn't be fair. One more thing I want to say about Thursday night's show. There were some words taken out. Those people who watch this show know that from time to time, guests say things, I say things, which in the judgment of the Broadcast Standards Department are not acceptable for family viewing. You all know what the words are. I say no more. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors with Mr. Steven Spielberg, so please stay tuned. Now, don't pick the flowers. With us for a second time is Steven Spielberg, who was on our show in New York about 6-8 months ago, and who at the time promised to bring with him a 3.5-minute film which he directed when he was 16 years old. We're not going to show it tonight, but he has promised he will bring it with him next time. Welcome back here, sir. Mr. Spielberg was the director of Jaws, and he is the writer and director of Close Encounters of a Third Kind. My 13-year-old tipped me off. She said, Dad, if you go to this expecting you're going to see Star Wars, you're going to be very, very disappointed. And I want you to talk about that, because if people go and try and make comparisons, the two films do not compare at all.
And I didn't intend to make a movie that had anything to do with Star Wars, because, in fact, Close Encounters was started a year before Star Wars was started. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that the two films caught up to each other at a certain point. And at a certain point, Star Wars got on the screen and became the space metaphor for 1977. And when the second space movie, which really is more of a terrestrial film, was released, people certainly thought there could be something similar. And then when people see the movie, they're very happily they leave the theater saying it's another movie.
It's not, and I don't mean just to classify Star Wars as cowboys and Indians or a cartoon, but that was the feeling many people had about it. And as often happens in the motion picture business or television, when one success comes, the other one following is a spin-off. I want people to be alerted to the fact that Steven's picture is not at all a spin-off of Star Wars. It's completely and totally different game.
I've always said, I mean, from the outset, when I saw that Star Wars could mislead a lot of people into thinking that anything having to do with the stars was going to be a shoot-'em-up in outer space, I'm very happy that your 13-year-old daughter picked it out.
So am I, because I think if I had gone to it expecting that, I might have come away a little confused.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. I mean, there's not one laser blast in the entire 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Let me ask you about the security and the secrecy that you had surrounding this picture when you were shooting it in Alabama and other locations. You took great pains to make certain that nobody would divulge what was going on in your sets. How come?
I wouldn't have done it for another kind of a movie. I wouldn't have done it if I were making a comedy or a Western or even a love story. But there was something about the mystery behind the UFO phenomena that I felt would have its time. There would be enough time before I released the picture when we could start talking about it and pre-publicizing the movie. But the idea of 2 years in advance, and I'd take a long time to make movies. I don't make a movie once every 8 months. And I just didn't want to wear the story out. I didn't want people telling their friends what Close Encounters was about because they read it in Newsweek magazine a year before the film was released, and then by the time it's old news by the time it hits the screen. So that was one reason. And the other reason was very simply I didn't want a movie for television eclipsing the novelty of Close Encounters.
When I saw the credits come up and it said written and directed by Steven Spielberg, I had forgotten. I think you mentioned in New York that you had written this story, that this was your story. Where did this come from?
I got to say that most of it came from my imagination, but my imagination stimulated by a lot of factual research, experiences that I had, not with UFOs, but just experiences
Have you ever
I had.
seen one?
Never.
Neither have I.
No. I'd like to, but I never have.
Yeah, so would I.
Friends of mine have. Matter of fact, everybody I talk to seems to have had some sort of a nocturnal experience, and beyond the ones that you're going through your head right now.
Not through my head.
and I just thought that it was. I had so many interesting things happen to me through other people, stories told to me, and I've always been fascinated by the
Tell about the Boy Scout troop when you were a kid.
I was a member of a Boy Scout troop, and I was a loyal camper. Every weekend, I think, of the month during the summer, the troop would go out and camp for the night, and I didn't make it one weekend, and when I didn't show up, I think I had the flu, the troop came back very excited because they saw something. They saw something in the sagebrush in the distance that was glowing, quite like the light at the end of the road in the Adart, and it rose off the ground and left quickly, and there were maybe 30 witnesses.
Have you thought about UFOs a lot since you're little?
Yeah. I mean, I've told the story before, but my father took me out to see a meteor shower when I was, I think, 6. And I think part of it so traumatized me, the idea of being hauled out of bed in my pajamas at midnight, which I guess to a kid is the middle of the night, and taken out to a lonely place with a lot of people lying on picnic blankets looking at the sky, and I put my head back and I saw these little points of light zipping across the sky at night, and that was my real first look at the cosmos.
Did the fact that Richard Dreyfuss performed so well for you in Jaws have anything to do with his selection as the lead, or one of the leads in Close Encounters?
One of the reasons Richard's in the movie is every night when I was writing Close Encounters during the shooting of Jaws in my log cabin at Martha's Vineyard, Richard would sit up with me saying, "Hey, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that?" And he was like really enthusiastic about it. He became almost a partner in crime really early. And
why do you call it crime?
It was a crime to think of 2 movies at the same time. When I had an 8 millimeter Freudian slip, $8 million responsibility to Jaws and Universal.
I hope the only 8 millimeter you ever made was the one you made when you were 17, right? That you didn't appear in, that you directed.
That's right. That's right. My C movie stage.
When I saw the credits at the end of the picture, I saw one for Dirty Tricks Unit Number 1, Dirty Tricks Unit Number... What are Dirty Tricks in movies?
Oh, Dirty Tricks was the group of that was the Silence Group membership sitting around the table in the in the warehouse trying to find a way to evacuate 30,000 people from a 300-mile area.
Oh, I had the feeling because I thought they were technical credits that they had something to do with.
Those were the actors who played the
I see.
The silence group.
And why do they call the guy Fast Eddie?
Fast Eddie?
The photographer on the show.
Oh, well, Fast Eddie wasn't a photographer. Fast Eddie was in charge of all of our video playback, because many times I would record the scene on videotape so I could look at it instantly. And he was in charge of that. He was sent down by the Burbank studio.
I got you.
To oversee that.
I guess I did. I got the picture.
You confused the technical credits with the
hey, I understand.
acting
A lot of people say, I don't understand the picture. I understood the picture, but I bollocksed up the credits. I never got the credits right. How many locations did you use on this picture? How long did it take to make? How much did it cost?
The picture cost, by our accounting, $18 million. And it took about a year to make. It took really 2.5 years to make, but to shoot the movie, it took about a year. And we shot it in Bombay, which was a rugged location, Mobile, Los Angeles, and the Devil's Tower, Wyoming. That was basically it.
In the picture, I tell the audience here, parenthetically, one of the leads is Francois Truffaut, the noted film director. And his dialogue is spoken exclusively in French. Sometimes there are subtitles, sometimes there are not.
Right.
Why did you do that?
Well, to begin with, when I thought of casting a scientist, I remembered all of the B pictures in the 50s that had the German scientist with the goatee, sometimes looking quite like Dr. Alan Hynek. You know, those people were always in charge of finding out why the prehistoric monster came back to life. What was the isotope that made him devour San Francisco? And I really wanted to avoid that cliche and also kind of make a point that UFOs are a global phenomena, that they're not part of. And I felt that a Frenchman, and the French are much more advanced in a very open-minded way, much more so than our government, to the possibility of extraterrestrial visitation. And I felt that the French would be a good nationality to represent as a kind of spearhead group. And
how'd you feel about Truffaut's name on the marquee? Dino.
How did he feel about my name next to his? I should ask him
above
that.
his, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
No, I just wonder, because it just jarred me a little bit when this man was talking French all the time until the picture developed.
Yeah.
Say, well, why is he there? What is his purpose in being there? And I thought, well, you know, Spielberg thought his name would add something.
Not at all, because, I mean, certainly I looked at legitimate French actors before turning to Truffaut. I considered Philippe Noiret, and I considered Yves Montand and Trintignant, and, you know, Michel Piccoli, and a lot of very notable French actors. And I just found that Francois Truffaut had a kind of a childlike warmth that, for me, was lacking in some of the other, you know, French movie stars. And I remembered him as a part of the Doctor in Wild Child, where he had an amazing compassion. Just an overwhelming surplus of compassion.
Last thing about the picture. Dreyfus, when he's doing the thing that makes it all come together, he's got a set of electric trains that he's running.
Yes.
Model. Where did you get those, and who built that, and where is it now? Because I want them.
You want them?
Yeah. We'll be right back with Steven Spielberg after these words from our NBC stations. Another thing about this picture, and then I want to go into some other things that they told me about. You said the last time we were together that you would not do a sequel to Jaws.
Right.
Will you do a sequel to this?
Yeah, this I'll do a sequel to, because this movie is designed for sequels, as opposed to Jaws, which was a once-in-a-lifetime event. They're going to disprove me when they come out with the sequel, and that makes a lot of money to Jaws, but I always felt that it was very hard to justify a sequel about a shark that big attacking an island that small twice.
Plus the shark was
like lightning
killed.
hitting, and the shark was killed, and then another shark shows up the same size, which you're asked to swallow.
Is it okay to say that nobody's killed in your picture?
No one is killed.
No.
No one is hurt. No one bleeds.
Yeah. No guns are fired.
There goes $4 million right now.
No. Do you feel you're in competition with Star Wars? Because they've had their big push now, their big shot. They've made all that money, 150, 460.
Not really. Everybody else, I mean, it makes.
And I'm not trying to put you. I'm not trying to put you in competition.
No, I don't feel that I'm in competition with Star Wars at all. I'm a good friend of the director and writer of Star Wars, George Lucas, And we've watched each other's films grow and saw each other's cuts when they were done. And there's really no competition at all. It just is. It makes wonderful press when the New York Times will print their grosses and our grosses, and it's something to talk about if nothing else is happening in the world. Really.
Tell about the time that you and a friend broke $30,000 worth of plate glass windows.
Yeah. You want me to tell about that?
Yeah. And then when you and a friend, but I'll get to it.
I can for a reason. I can say that because when I was a student, actually I was in elementary school in Phoenix, Arizona. I had a lot of friends who were juvenile delinquents. And one day we went to a shopping mall they were building called Christown Plaza in Phoenix, Arizona, and there were a bunch of plate glass windows waiting to be installed in this new shopping center. And I don't know what came over us, but we broke the windows and with rocks and oranges and grapefruit. And and then years later, I was in the Cannes Film Festival, and I was having dinner with a good friend of mine, a stuntman. He's a terrific stuntman in this town named Teddy Grossman. He introduced me to his brother Sam, and we all had dinner in Cannes. And
it was Cannes a few minutes ago.
Cannes now, Cannes for the Continentals, Cannes for the Americans. And we were having dinner, and we were reminiscing, and he was telling me about what he did for a living. He built shopping centers. He told me about one strange day when a bunch of kids came and broke all the windows at Christmas.
The circle closed.
Yeah, same man, circle closed. Yeah.
Did you tell him?
Sure, I told him.
Did you pay him?
We're in partnership now.
Oh.
We have a merchandising company.
The time that you threw phony vomit on people at a movie theater and caused the film to be stopped.
Almost did one of those Woody Allen with a spray with the water.
Don't, not here. Have you ever done at a party where you take a coffee cup and you fill it full of confetti, and you come up to somebody and say, "Oh," and the confetti goes all over? It's a riot. Try it next time.
Everybody with a cup of coffee, I usually ask what time it is. A few people in my life have told me the time.
Yeah.
But no, it was that same period of maybe 2 years when I decided to be a bad guy with the hair combed back and the jacket and everything. And we went to a theater in Phoenix with the 3 balconies. And before we went to the theater, we mixed a concoction at my house of Parmesan cheese and bread marinated in milk and peas and cream corn. We put it all in a paper bag and took it to the theater. And at the climax of this movie, it was The Lost World with Michael Rennie. That'll date the story.
Yeah, it sure does.
We made horrible belching sounds, and we squeezed it over on the full house. In those days, they had the loge seats. You paid $3.
Yeah,
you got the rocking chairs.
Yeah.
And it caused a real chain reaction. The movie stopped. The lights came on. It was a riot. It was a riot.
What kind of a young man were you? I mean, breaking plate glass windows and throwing barf on people.
I'd be in jail if I weren't a movie maker.
Yeah, but
I'm sublimating right now.
Were you a bad kid?
I'm channeling it all. No, I wasn't a bad kid. It was just a period of time of trying to be accepted by the older, rough kids on the block, I guess that was it. I was really not the aggressive leader. I was sort of the kid in the back of the pack who, if it didn't look kosher, I'd go home.
What do you do today that is that keeps up your spirits? You did that then. What do you do now?
I make Jaws and watch people throw up in movie theaters. It hasn't changed at all. Nothing.
When you're in a town like Alabama, like Mobile, Alabama, was it that you
went to?
You went to Mobile, and you were in India. You're on the road. You're away from the comforts of home and from your friends, your family, your house, and your car, and whatever else you have to amuse yourself. What is it like? What do you do out there at night when you're all through shooting for the day?
What do I do, or what does everybody else around me do?
Well, as long as you brought it up, let's talk about you.
No,
first.
I sleep. I have to. I mean, you're on the set from 7 o'clock in the morning until sometimes 8 o'clock. By the time we're through watching dailies, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and there's no time to do anything, really, except fall asleep, if you can even fall asleep. Sometimes if there's a problem day coming up, you're awake all night, or I'm awake all night, pacing and trying to figure out the problems before I have to... it's much better to pace privately than in front of a crew of 150 and watch them say he doesn't know what he's doing. But, I make a home everywhere I go. I kind of a hotel room. I decorate it, and I've got my old things. I bring my pillow from my house. I have to sleep on one pillow.
And probably because you're the director and the writer, I mean, you probably set an example for the entire company of such a nature that they would all say, by God, Stephen is in his room working and sleeping, and we're going to do the very same things. We're going to follow this man's lead. Is that probably the way it goes, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen a crew age in about 4 weeks?
Yep.
It's amazing. I've seen 30-year-old grips who look 60.
Yep.
You know, it's all those Holiday Inns. It's the vibrator beds.
Oh.
Very dangerous.
It's the vibrator bars, my friend. Boy, when we went to Hong Kong and Vietnam 3-4 years ago, and boy, the next morning, I mean, I was always in bed very early. And the next morning, you know, they're out there on the dials and stuff, and they're... And there it was bad because you get, you know, Teresta, Montezuma, you get diarrhea is what you get. And these poor guys, I mean, we'd be filming a spot. We were filming a spot with Run Run Shaw. Have you ever met this guy?
No, I haven't.
The Hong Kong movie guy. Right in the middle of the spot, and all of a sudden, 18 guys just leave the consoles and all the electronic equipment, and we're standing there. Everything was dead. They all left.
I don't know why this happened. I think it was one of those evenings you're talking about, but one day on Jaws, we were shooting on a pier, and the shot was the dolly grip was supposed to push the dolly forward and stop on a mark, and he kept going, and everything went into the ocean. Cameraman, assistant cameraman, everything. Those things happen sometimes.
I can't top it. I won't even try. Do you believe in UFOs?
I believe in the possibility. I certainly believe in life off the planet. I believe that there's life in the universe. I'm a want-to believer. I'm really anxious to have an experience myself so I can come on a show like yours and say, I believe in UFOs, and I'll tell you why. But the problem is, I can't tell you why, so I shouldn't tell you I believe in UFOs. Mm-hmm. I certainly think that there is enough evidence. People were hung on less evidence than is available to us right now about being visited. But it's going to really have to happen.
Wouldn't it be great if, because certainly not things that you have done with this picture, but I've had Hynek here, and I've had the guys from Pascagoula, and I've had the Lady Hill who went for the ride in the spaceship, and I sit and I nod my head in assent. But all the while I'm thinking these people are absolutely crazy. Not crazy, but it couldn't possibly happen. If it could just happen once, you know, if you could just once have this, even an encounter of the first kind, so that once and for all you'd say, yeah, you know, these people know what they're talking about. I understand what they're talking about and how they felt and what happened to them.
I can almost tell you what it's like, because I almost thought I saw a UFO, and I had that moment of, I guess it's almost a spiritual visitation, that when you see something that you think might be beyond your ken. And I looked up one day outside the hangar building at Mobile, Alabama, because the extras ran in and said, there's things out there in the sky, and you won't believe it when you see it. And I came running out, and I saw a point of light that was moving rather erratically through the sky. And at first, I had this great rush of hope. That's the best way I can describe it. And then after watching it a while, I said, it's a satellite. And it was.
William McGrath is a UFO guy, and a guy comes out, and he said, hey, the Starship doesn't look like that, fella. Let me give you the original drawing. We'll be back with Steven Spielberg after these words from our sponsors. I said I saw this picture today in the Dolby system, and you tell me I didn't.
Well, you saw it in the magnetic 70 millimeter system, which is Dolby, and it's Dolby approved, and certainly the Dolby technicians worked on it, but Dolby makes a stereo optical soundtrack that we use in the other theaters around the country that's equally as fine.
What is that process, the Dolby process? Like, you see it now for home equipment where it says Dolby approved.
It's a noise reduction system. It emphasizes, it equalizes high-end and low-end sounds. And it really cleans up. It's great for dialogue. It makes garbled dialogue sound very crisp. And it has a very wide range, a great latitude for doing.
Do you have it in your house?
No, I don't. This is a great plug for Dolby, by the way. I'll be getting all the nice letters tomorrow.
No.
But I don't have it in my house. I think it began with the record system, with the tuners and turntables. And it branched out into motion pictures.
Do you have a projection room in your house?
No.
Oh, wouldn't you want to have one?
No. I like seeing movies with the public. It's even hard for me to go to screenings at a major studio, because the people there the reactions are always cooler than the general public at times.
Here comes that picture again, SW, I'll call it. But I went to see it at a man's house, and he has a fantastic projection room, this man. And he's got all the sound systems, and the screen is wide and everything, and there were maybe 8 people watching it, and I thought, yeah. Then I went with some young people to a theater that was packed with 600 people, and with DV, I won't say his name, where the villain came out. There's something to watching a picture with people.
Because people, it's, I don't know really what it is. It's almost something psychic, because there's something that happens that you can cut the air of a good movie with a knife. The people help each other enjoy the film better in a large room, which is why I hate watching a movie in a projection room. You know, it's hard to trust yourself sometimes. You wonder, do I really like this or don't I? And yet, when you're being encouraged, I think it's why television uses laugh tracks so often. It encourages you to like what they're telling you that everybody else is laughing. Why aren't you?
It's a transmittable reaction. People yawning will yawn. If people hear people laughing, they'll chuckle. Weeping, they'll weep.
Sure.
Excuse me. What are you doing next?
I'm going to make a movie about little children. What kids do between the hours of 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock at night when they leave school and go home to have dinner. When they 8, 9-year-old kids, when they're little adults. Kind of, I guess you could call it a contemporary small change.
Sounds like a hard picture to make.
Well, it's hard dealing with 20, 30 youngsters between 8 and 14. It's a real rough age to get your way. You almost have to become a youngster and fight for the pecking order.
Why don't you take a bag of peas and bananas and bread soaked in milk and Parmesan cheese and take them all to a movie and dump it on the people below, and they'll love you. They'll think, hey, this guy is one of ours. Thank you for being here tonight. I enjoyed seeing you again, and I enjoyed your picture a great deal this afternoon. But I did see the television antennas, and I saw the marks of the camera. Remember when Ben-Hur came out, and some people said, well, we saw the tire tracks on the racetrack, or The Longest Day, they saw a television antenna.
You saw some camera marks on the ground?
No, I told you before we came on, the one thing I saw, Dreyfuss, when the scene that we showed a part of where he's in the truck and the UFO goes over, and all the electrical stuff starts to work, and he's got on one of those watches that light up, and his watch didn't light up. And I said to myself, you know, he had everything else going. Why didn't the watch light up?
They couldn't tell time. I better get off this show right now.
Hey, trust me, it's not important. And it ends, the butler did it. We'll be right back with Colonel Coleman to talk about first and second encounters of a real kind, right after these words from our affiliated station.